John was working in his science lab, got blasted by gamma rays. Now he's Smash Trivia John, always smashing. He's friends with Ruffalo, crushing on Maslany, and also Sydney Sweeney. John's here saying, hello my gamma friends, welcome to the show, the Gamma Analysis Podcast.
Smash.
Hello, my Gamma friends. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and I also do random other TV films. And also sometimes I don't even review anything at all, like this episode. I would hope you enjoy Smash Trivia Presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening, please do sign for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends. If you don't, Hulk will be angry. Hey, now let's smash right into this episode. Today, I'm joined by a comedian that I saw on the Vigilante Vibes podcast, which everyone should please check out the Vigilante Vibes podcast. Megan is absolutely amazing on there. But this comedian is Jeremy Plum. How you doing, Jeremy?
I am doing well. Just enjoying a nice Chicago winter.
Nice. Probably below zero weather.
It has been. I think today is a balmy 40 degrees, actually. Today is our first 40 degrees. So yeah, it's nice.
And we're going to try and create an alternate history of what if Howard the Duck, the 80s film, had been successful. This is an idea I thought of back in December. I was thinking this sounds like this could be funny because there's a lot of changes to the landscape of the world that would happen if Howard the Duck had been successful.
Yes. There'll be a lot of landscapes changed. Yeah.
So to give an idea for the people listening, why I thought that it's there. So what I absolutely know would have changed is and one, the biggest the thing that is absolutely is a fact is that Pixar would not exist if it hadn't been for Howard the Duck.
Yeah, let's give a slight history lesson. So
Yes.
Howard the Duck is created in part with Lucasfilms. This is late 80s, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to remember the exact year. So this is after the high of Star Wars, after the high of Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And they spent a lot of money into puppetry and animatronics for this movie. Because of the movies, one of the reasons Lucasfilms went bankrupt is in part because of Howard the Duck. So Lucasfilms sells a lot of property in order to keep the studio afloat. One of those things is he sells a small group for basically CGI rendering to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs sees it as an opportunity to make computer-generated movies. This is he then works with Disney. They create Toy Story. This is why Steve Jobs is a executive producer of the first Toy Story movie. I think the second one too. No, probably not. But
I have no idea.
The creation of Pixar, because Pixar is not owned by Disney until long after Cars,
which surprised me because I had thought that it was owned by Disney for a lot earlier than that, but it surprised me that it took till probably Cars came out for that.
It is a Games Freak or HAL Laboratory situation with Nintendo. It's like a second party. Like HAL Laboratory is the creator of Kirby, or Game Freak, the Pokemon company. They don't technically are owned by Nintendo. They're a second party. A lot of the property is like a lot of stuff they make is owned by Nintendo. But a good example is I think it was Timbo the Badass Elephant was a Sega game made by Game Freak. So with that, you CGI, like Pixar would be then in Lucasfilms if Howard the Duck never had failed. Pixar would be in Lucasfilms, probably working less for original ideas, but bolstering, making worlds more immersive.
Well,
Um,
I think that they had originally been planning on using it to actually make like some animated Star Wars content and at Lucasfilms.
yes. So, sorry. You. So yeah, it had started in 1971 as part of Lucasfilms. Yeah, fun. Yeah. And then cool, perfect. I wanted to double check something here. So it was known as a graphics group before it was spun off. So they basically sold that graphics groups uh to Apple. So it wouldn't have started as a animation studio, but if you remember the kind of janky CGI that was in the original trilogy, that's what they would have worked on.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they would have probably done. And yes, fully original movies as well. But yeah, we wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
And I think also I think about that often, the idea of I think I remember hearing somewhere that the one reason why uh, American CGI feels the way it does and acts the way it does is because the first movie being Toy Story, or one of the early ones being Toy Story, a lot of focuses on weight with uh with the toys, making them feel heavy and grounded so that way they can go limp and
That
they can
makes
feel
sense.
alive. Yeah. And sometimes you'll see maybe a European animated movie and if things just feel a little more floaty. Uh and I think about that often. Like what happens if we didn't get Toy Story as a major boom? What happens then with Disney,
Oh yeah,
who pivoted hard to 3D? Yeah.
I think like I think this Howard the Duck, even though it wasn't a film made by Disney, it would have had such a major effect on Disney, not just because of Pixar, but I also think that um even though these are not like Howard the Duck would not have been the only reason for this, but I would not be surprised had Howard the Duck been successful. I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel had never gone bankrupt in the 90s. Is
Ex Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's explain that. Let's run that back because the way I view the Marvel bankrupting story,
Mhm.
and you can help me with this, is more because in the same way that NFTs fell a few years back, the same way that the collecting comics bubble, that's
Well,
where the bankruptcy came.
mhm.
It was
Well,
that was
yeah,
my understanding.
yes, but what I'm saying is I think that they would have started making a lot of Marvel movies much earlier and by
Yeah,
themselves, and that would have made them the money that they would need so that they could stay afloat.
that's true.
And then I also kind of wonder if part of the reason they took till the early 2000s for us to get any more Star Wars content after the original trilogy. I wonder if maybe it had to do with them not having much money at
Yeah,
Lucasfilms
absolutely.
because of
Actually,
this.
let's play in that space that you just created for a second. Let's go back when you're saying Marvel would have made money. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things what that sentence means. Marvel has
Mhm.
an early success specifically with an animal property,
Yes.
and what that means. So we can go the comic route, we can go the movie route. I want to talk the movie route for a second because you said they went bankrupt. They did,
Mhm.
and they sold a lot of stuff. I think that's no. I was thinking something. I was confusing my history with Secret Wars and I was confusing my history with the bankruptcy. But in the bankruptcy, Marvel sells specifically Spider-Man to Sony, X-Men to Fox, Universal, Hulk.
Mhm.
Because of those three most popular characters, and they sold them for a steal to get something to stay alive.
Yeah.
If Howard had been successful, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But another reason, in the same way that we consider Iron Man an A-lister now, which we never did
Mhm.
until his movie was successful. Same with Cap.
Yeah.
Cap was respected, but
Yeah.
no one has a Cap lunch like okay, people have a Cap lunchbox, but it's not as loved as Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
But if Howard is successful, Howard becomes successful, that means there's at least a period in the 80s and 90s, during that, let's say there's a Howard trilogy.
Mhm.
Howard is the most popular Marvel comic. So what does Marvel do? Same with the thing that Marvel does now, same that DC's does now. One idea is popular, we're going to keep banking on
Mhm.
that. We're going to have more of our animal properties be more up and coming. Hit Monkey.
Yeah.
Hit
Yeah.
Monkey's up next.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually like more. I think there would be a little bit of the animal thing, but I was more thinking of like how of I think the films that would come after Howard the Duck would embrace more of that wacky comic charm like the Howard the Duck film embraced how absolutely wacky this concept is, and I think we would have gotten like a on possibly even a shared universe, but it is much more wacky than something like what we have now with the MCU.
Yes. So I'm trying to remember who owned, because there was a people that owned, yes, it would be a lot wackier. We didn't embrace
Mm-hmm.
that. But that reminded me of there was a period of time where certain movies were owned by certain people,
Mm-hmm.
like movie rights. Like Doctor Strange was owned. I'm
I
trying to
don't
I
know.
think it was Coppola. I think it was Coppola
Yeah,
that owned him.
I have not ever seen that old Dungeon Strange movie. I've heard it's really bad.
Yes.
But yeah, I would have just assumed it was something that Marvel themselves made. And
Yeah. Uh there was a period. There was also like I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth and not do my research here. I think it was David Bowie that owned Spider-Man for half a minute.
Interesting.
Or
I know at one point, like Michael Jackson wanted to buy Spider Man.
yes, but then there was another, because I know there's proof of it in this weird one-off like live picture that was going to be a cover, and I can't remember if it was Bowie, Jackson, or a director. Like they owned a Spider-Man, and they were trying to work on it, and it fell through. Well, if Howard
Which,
had worked, well, then that would have gone through.
yeah, like I think really like the first thing they would have done on as to any kind of shared aired universe is I think that they would have crossed over what were the biggest adaptations of
Yeah.
the time. I'm so if Howard the Duck's successful, Howard's included in that, and then also the Nicholas Hammond Spider Man from the
Mm,
and from the '70s TV show,
yep.
and the Lou Ferrigno Hulk
I was gonna say the
from
Lou
the
Ferrigno
'70s.
Hulk, which had a couple TV movies, correct?
Yes.
Like they had a couple crossover that would have one of them would have gotten scrapped, reworked, moved to the
Mhm.
big screen at the time.
Yeah,
Clearly,
which like during the '80s, he's Bill Bixby, who was David Banner, the human and part of the of Hulk. He had actually even working on directing a and this is real life a Spider-Man Hulk crossover or film that never got materialized. I think that it would have gotten materialized if Howard had been successful.
yes. Absolutely. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, yeah. Jesus.
And
There's
I think then like expanding from here I think that the idea of having like a shared universe already and it being signed made by Marvel specifically and not like on by other studios. I think that would have gained Marvel a lot more popularity back then, causing Disney to not be able to buy it in the 2010s.
yeah, yeah. Uh, so yeah, Disney buys tries to buy Marvel and tries to buy Star Wars in the 2010s.
Mm-hmm. Which
Specifically, if I remember the story correctly, to booster with young boys.
mm-hmm.
It's,
Which I think in turn, because of them not buying Marvel, I don't think that they would have bought Star Wars and Fox because I
no,
think that buying Marvel made them feel like they could do those things. If
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. So I have a question for you actually. Let's start because Howard the Duck does have two legal issues. Disney
Yeah.
originally tried to sue Marvel for Howard the Duck, specifically because it's a duck not wearing pants.
Even though
Um,
he does wear pants in
it
the
doesn't.
film.
Well, that's why he wears pants now because the
Mhm.
early versions of Howard the Duck do that.
Mhm.
So Howard's a success. Howard's more of a success now.
Yeah.
Disney will try and get more of a piece of that pie. So one or two things can happen. And then also another issue and I was trying to remember this because it just hit my name or my brain. Steve Gerber claims that he created Howard the Duck and was owed rights. And in fact, there's an issue where one of his side characters in a different universe, a different publication history, is another duck, a duck with a gun. I can't remember
Mhm.
it, but they have a fake crossover episode because he's working then on a Howard the Duck issue. They explode in a warehouse, and it is implied in the other publication that is the real Howard the Duck who is now in Gerber's universe, whereas a clone, not real Howard the Duck, is in Marvel.
Oh. Yeah.
And I remember when Superman came out, 1976, Superman, 1978. There were correctly, uh, the two creators of Superman fought for their name to be recognized and for more of a piece of pie
Mhm.
for Superman,
Mhm.
especially things like movies and toys and whatnot. Howard the Duck is let's say it's number one movie in America.
Mhm.
Howard the Duck. People love seeing Howard fuck a human woman.
Yeah.
People love it. Like in the way we're
Uh,
talking about this, the movie has
it
not
would,
changed. The
it
movie
would,
has not changed.
there would definitely be a new subcategory in the porn industry.
Yes. We can get that in a second too. But like the movies never change. But people love it. So Disney tries to get some money off of Howard the Duck. We also have uh an owner of Howard the Duck claiming to get, wanting to get more payment and fight for Marvel. So one or two things can happen. You know, we make 3, 4 Howard the Duck movies, or because of legal trouble and payments, there is not a second Howard the Duck movie. Howard the Duck is a cult classic. Howard the Duck is a singular movie that is up there as one of those 80s movies that goes Goonies, Indiana Jones, Howard the Duck. And everything else is built around it. You get Howard the Duck games, you get Howard the Duck toys, not movies, video games,
Mhm.
and he explodes in the comics.
Oh.
What does that look like? A Howard the Duck
So.
where he is as big as, let's say, She-Hulk.
Mhm.
He's as big as She-Hulk now. Not only he's been around for 50 years, I think he mostly gets minis now. But he has an ongoing series. John
Mhm.
Bryan writes it. It's a humor character. It's the 80s. John Bryan writes it. He may not have writes She-Hulk at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which coincidentally, during his She-Hulk run in real life, he had a Howard the Duck arc, which is
Yeah.
absolutely a hilarious arc for anybody who has never read it.
Yeah. But the joke, if correct me if I'm wrong, is like this is a nobody, Howard the Duck. Look at this weirdo. But now it'd be like Green Lantern walks into a Batman book.
Mm-hmm.
Like people like Howard. Would we get we would get crossover arcs. We would get
Oh yeah.
summer events circled around Howard the Duck villains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
There would be so many goofy ass villains, and which comics already have goofy ass villains, but like they would be embraced so much more, and you would and like I wouldn't even be surprised if you had some other superheroes where they would get movies that have Howard the Duck villains as their
Howard the Duck.
villains.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they would do the Spider-Man thing. Hey, this villain isn't doing well. Throw him in Howard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
Throw
it, and it's like how
Kingpin.
they once had the Rhino show up to fight Hulk in a Santa costume.
Yeah. Throw him in Howard. He'll sell better. He'll sell better.
Mhm.
And so yeah, Marvel would get wackier and goofier, which means going into the
Maybe.
90s, it would be sillier and wackier.
Mhm.
What does that mean? Who then does well?
Mhm.
Can Todd McFarlane do well in a Howard centric Marvel Comics? Can Eric
Oh.
Larson? Can Eric Larson do well
Mhm.
in
And
a
I,
which
I I also like wonder like how does it affect how other companies is
yeah,
doing things like let's say would at the end of the 80s would Batman 89 be the same film that it was,
we wouldn't
or would it be more like the Adam West Batman?
we wouldn't get Batman 89. We wouldn't get Batman 89 at all. So let's talk about that for a second. So we know this. We've seen Deathstroke Deadpool. We've seen um there's so many better examples, but that's the first that comes to my mind. We've seen Darkseid and Thanos. We've seen okay, well, Howard the Duck does well. Hit Monkey starts hitting up. It's an animal. It's a cute animal. All
Yeah.
right, let's throw it in. But he's doing adult stuff because that's the gimmick. A cute animal doing adult stuff. Uh, End of the 80s, you have your British invasion coming into DC. They're doing somewhat serious books, but we need animals. Howard shows we need animals. Well, DC has a whole collective of animal superheroes.
Mhm.
Not even talking Captain Carrot, talking the Justice League apes.
Mhm.
We're talking just a group of monkeys because DC.
Even
There was a period in the 50s where DC used fucking gorillas to sell books. A lot of Jimmy Olsen characters get real popular over at DC. Gorilla Grodd turns into a big thing because Howard's doing well.
yeah.
And it changes the whole dynamic. And my question is, you said 89. Do we get Spawn? Do we even get Image?
Hmm.
Because goofy character does really well.
Yeah.
And the expressiveness of Howard and the what you need to make Howard work is a different set of writers and skills than what made Spider-Man work.
Mhm.
And that's what made Todd popular. That's what made Aaron Larson popular with Spider-Man.
Mhm.
And that's serious and Hulk. But if we're focusing more on goofy animal characters, would a different set of artists be in there? And would they have realized that they're being screwed over by Marvel and made an image? Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we could still get something like Spider-Man, but mainly because of the fact that at least a bit of the public already knew him from that Nicholas Hammond and show from the 70s
Yeah.
is and but what I wonder is whether they would be willing to hire Sam Raimi or not for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm like, there's part of me. It's like I feel like they wouldn't have hired a horror director for Spider-Man had this happen. But then again, in our world, it's already very weird that they had a horror director be the person who made in
Well,
Spider-Man.
well, here's the thing. To Sony, let's not because remember, Marvel wasn't making that decision. Sony was.
Mhm.
And why? Because Sam Raimi works for cheap.
Mhm.
I love Sam,
Oh yeah, I love him too. I'm just saying, like it
but
is like subjectively, it is a very wild choice to have someone who's mainly
yeah,
known for horror come in and do a very family friendly character.
I might be arguing that the reason why they picked Sam Raimi for Spider-Man is because of Darkman. Because Darkman is him
Mhm.
showing he loves EC Comics so much that he's willing to redo that style on the big screen. That and he works well with Sony. He's cheaper.
Mhm.
It's as if we have Greta Thunberg
Mhm.
doing the fucking Narnia movie for Netflix now. She did Little Women, she did Barbie, she did yes, Barbie is a license, but two
Mhm.
like kind of more thought piecey. Fuck it, we're throwing her in Netflix fucking adaptation of the Bible.
Well,
So we're gonna do that. Uh, everyone will do one for them, one for me, one for them, one for me. But for Sam, I don't know which one Spider-Man is. Because if you watch it, and you know this, he specifically loves, I don't think he likes Steve Ditko. He likes Sam Romita Jr. or Senior's Spider-Man a lot. Actually, no, I think it has to be Ditko because fucking Gwen Stacy isn't in it.
Hmm.
And that's a post Ditko creation. That's also why he tuned out in 3. He hated Venom because that's what he wasn't reading Venom. He was reading fucking Vulture.
Oh man, and he did want Vulture to be a villain in the fourth
He did,
film.
and he wanted Black Cat.
Yeah.
He wanted Black Cat, which is would have been fun. We would have actually seen a Black Cat, which I don't think we've ever seen
Mhm.
in the silver screen.
I I'll let you know another place is outside of superheroes,
Yeah,
but like I with the animal theme, I think instead of getting stuff like Air Bud and the Buddies movies, we would have got Duck movies.
we would
Is
have gotten Duck. Disney would have pushed harder and harder on their DuckTales.
Mhm.
On actually, they would have hit way more just Uncle Scrooge in general. That might have come earlier
Yeah.
because DuckTales only got one movie, but we've shown that it's popular. Duck's doing serious things. Well, that's we have 100 years of fucking Uncle Scrooge comics.
Uh,
Throw any of those onto the pile.
and
Oh, we would have gotten those sold more. Actually, we would
yeah.
have gotten reprints of those Uncle Scrooge books. Would have been probably printing in the 80s.
um, but and here is here's more of a just like a goofy thing, but like maybe martial arts studios start trying to figure out a way to make Quack Fu real
Yeah,
martial arts.
absolutely. People. So yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, Howard the Duck is super popular. Howard the Duck has this thing called Quack Fu. It is just kung fu, but he has web feet. That's it. That's it. It's the bit. That's the whole joke. Um, yeah, there would have been Quack Fu. Now, also in the 70s, Disco Duck. When is Disco Duck? We've had a couple songs like Disco Duck,
Yeah. Speak,
where yeah, it is
I
just.
think
Oh, sorry.
speaking of music, I think that had this been popular, we would have seen a major pivot in Leah Thompson's career to music because of her singing in the
Yeah,
Howard the Duck movie, which like I that is one thing. That is one thing. I have not met a single person who's watched the film who has said that they do not like her song singing it.
she's great.
She is amazing at singing it, and I think if more people had seen the film, that she would have did a lot more with music in her career.
At least a 3 record deal. Like
Mm-hmm.
conservatively, it's the 80s. That's a big hit. She gets a 3 record deal. And one of two things happens. She rather loves music, that's where she stays. Or she realizes she is, oh, actually, no, fuck it. I was gonna say she's truly a character actor and she would have stayed doing character actor work. But no, she's
No,
not a character actor anymore. She's a star.
now would if she
That's it,
had
Leah.
gained
Shit,
all
not
this
Leah.
popularity from Howard the Duck,
Yeah.
would she return for Back to the Future Part 2 and 3? Because the first Back to the Future, I'm pretty sure came out before Howard the Duck, but I
Two,
think 2 and 3 came out like 89 and 90. So
yeah. Two,
I
yes, because she's getting 2 roles, and that's a pretty big deal. Not think that she would try and edge off her more roles, but I think agents and producers would try and push
mhm.
more for her. So 2 roles, she's doing fine. The
She
movie's
would be
barely changed. Yeah,
making she would be making a lot more money on it
yeah.
though.
3, and I don't remember Back to the Future 3 at all. Is she in it?
I don't remember, or
I
no, I
that's
don't remember.
I remember. I honestly
I
remember it
know
being
it's
boring.
that all I remember is it's set in the Wild West, which
Yeah,
I find westerns extremely boring.
Oh, that's too bad. She would have had a bigger role in three, absolutely. And it could have pushed some actors out. It could have pushed more screen time towards the mom. Um, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
I
she would
think
have
the
definitely been in Back to the Future more.
and I think there would have been a change as well for another actor's career of Robin Williams because as Robin Williams, if you don't know, was actually originally going to be the voice of
Yes, he
Howard, and
was.
I think that if this film had done well, he would have had a lot of regret from that, and he would be doing a lot more voice roles. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, the only reason why he stopped doing voice trails as much was because of his treatment in Aladdin. So I think because he viewed it as one of the more legitimate art forms. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was a lover of Mel Blanc. He loved the work of disappearing into a role and not being a name.
Mm-hmm.
He loved that. But the problem was specifically a poster issue. He said, I don't want to be. Whereas people now, let's say you have the Garfield movie starring Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to just be the genie. He goes, I don't want to be like this is a Robin Williams movie. I only want to take up 25% of the poster. Like
Mm-hmm.
no more than that. He wants to be very small. So what Disney did is the whole bottom quarter of it is the genie holding up everything and basically selling it like it's a Robin Williams, which is why we have Dan Castellaneta as the genie in two. Well, that's why I have Dan Castellaneta in a lot of the games, except for the educational one, because Robin Williams thought
Mm-hmm.
that he could be there for educational purposes. It's different. And I think that's why he took a step back. Because then after
Yeah.
Genie, a lot of people realize you can sell voice acting on the name,
Mm-hmm.
which is why, with the exception of, I just got back from Sonic 3 last night. Every person on that is a name Maybe okay, maybe you're a comic nerd, you knew Sonic's, voice actor really well,
Mm-hmm.
except for Tails. Tails is the original game actor. Um, she blends in very well with the rest of the cast. It's perfect. But
Yeah, it
uh
honestly really does surprise me that they did not cast like some big Hollywood actor for Tails, but
yeah,
I'm glad that they did because she worked so well.
it was perfect. The other thing is let's talk about that move to 3D. I want to go back to that for a second because
Mm.
we talk about Disney and we talk about the beginning of Pixar. I think you'll get the way 3D in animation would have looked like to me. My brain thinks it would have looked a lot more like a Road to El Dorado and Sinbad. It would have been elements inside traditional 2D because you would still have that
Mm.
Puritan idea of what is real animation in there. But movies like Shrek were created because people were viewing those movies as outdated because Pixar was around, because Toy Story existed. Like you may not have gotten Shrek in the
Mm-hmm.
way that we would have gotten Shrek
Mm-hmm.
if Pixar wasn't around. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of like great example, a lot of the especially Prince of Egypt. Prince of Egypt was an Oscar nominator. Prince of Egypt was beautiful and people loved it, but when animators were had to be shifted around, Shrek was viewed as the punishment movie at the time. Well, we probably wouldn't have gotten Shrek. People would have focused on more of movies like Prince of Egypt, like Sinbad, like El Dorado, because we don't have another company that's completely making a whole new style of film.
Yeah.
Because because the fucking duck.
Yeah.
Because the duck.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole thing that changes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. All.
I I have said unironically that some of the most important movies in the history of animation, at least in the last 50 years, I guess now more, Howard the Duck, the Peanuts movie, and Into the Spider-Verse have completely, and then Shrek and Toy Story. Like these are some
Yeah.
of the movies that have completely changed the industry. But Howard the Duck is one of the most important bombs,
Oh
one of
yeah,
the most important films
and
in animation.
it's so interesting to me because due to the fact that the film was a bomb, nobody knows how big of an impact it has.
Yeah, yeah,
But it has such a massive impact, and I think I really do think it would have reverberated a changing the landscape of everything in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even be surprised if it changes stuff outside of the entertainment industry. Just because of the butterfly effect. Just taking away Pixar films. The Pixar films are very powerful, beautiful films,
Yeah.
and they teach us to be better people.
Yeah.
Well, what? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there had been if without that there might be some people who are good people today that are not actually they're not good people anymore because of them the Pixar films not existing and like that and that could and particularly if it's people in power that could really change things a lot.
Sure. Yeah. I like I said, we talked about three different styles of entertainment. We talked about music, we talked
Mhm.
about movies, we talked about comics, all drastically changing
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
a movie where someone showed duck tits made profitable money.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, would have changed. It can change everything, and how we engage with
Oh,
art does
absolutely.
definitely change how we are as people.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it would have changed. It could have quite have changed a lot of things. Uh,
I,
yeah.
and I like oh well, maybe had Howard the Duck not been a flop, maybe in 2016 instead of having our first orange president, we would have had our first duck president.
Howard the Duck would have changed. I don't know if it would go that far,
I know
but sure.
I'm joking. I'm joking,
But
but yeah.
yeah, it could like
Yeah. I, I'm not nearly as good at joking as you are.
no, we actually would have had more Fritz the Cats. We would have had way more Fritz the Cats. For those who don't know, Fritz the Cat was an X-rated movie. Came out. It did come out before Howard, but it was one of the second or first X-rated movie animated. And it's about a cat. Robert Crumb was on it, and it's a psychedelic sex fueled trip. But I think when you have this idea of like, well, a movie in the '80s starring a animal doing dirty things, we've had more weird shit. We
Oh
would have had,
yeah.
I think, more weird shit.
Oh, absolutely. I think um the furry craze would have started much earlier.
Well,
Furry craze. I
furries have been
think
around
furries have
since
been around for a
yeah.
long time, but I think it would have been more like widely known,
I
if
I
that
will
makes
argue
sense.
this is you would have. I'm trying to remember. It was called Into the Rabbit Hole, and I was like watching a whole like history about furries. But every now and then, you can even tell it in outside of that community because that's where I'm at. But there's always like pips, like people go like, "Oh, that was a big moment for furries. That was a
Hmm.
big one." Okay, you had Lola Bunny.
Hmm.
You have Gadget from fucking Chippendale, and you have Judy Hopps for some reason, and like you have just weird blips. Okay, great. Go backwards. You have weird duck tit.
Yeah.
You have weird duck tit.
Hmm.
You have a Howard. You have Howard smoking, doing a Humphrey Bogart thing. Giving a cool noir. That's sexy man of the '80s. Literally having sex with a human. Well, actually, no, 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 no. I
Well,
remember the movie. They get close.
yeah,
They get very close, but then nothing happens.
yeah.
The bad guy, I think, breaks in. It's been 10 years
It's
since I've seen this movie, and I don't really want to see it again. It is it is a beautiful historical flop, but it can stay where it is. Um, but it's a huge undertaking. Um, honestly, the best way to go, like, hey, what would have happened for any of this? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come out
Mhm.
and changes everything. And every department we are talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Two people make a one-off comic where turtles do dirty stuff, but it was a success.
Mhm.
And what do we get? We get a bunch of comic ripoffs. You know, most of them start as jokes, most of them, and some of them kind of go to their own thing. Then we have cartoons because the cartoon's successful, right?
Yeah,
We definitely would have gotten a Howard the Duck cartoon, and there's precedent for
absolutely.
that because we got a RoboCop cartoon, we got a Rambo cartoon,
Heck, we
we had a
almost got a Howard the Duck cartoon in real life,
yeah,
as Kevin Smith was going to make one.
yes, yes. So there's precedent for it. Toxic
Mhm.
Avenger got a fucking cartoon,
Oh
so
yeah.
we would have gotten that, and if that was a success, okay, well we had what was it, Cowboys of Moo Mesa because that was a TMNT. We had Street Shark, that was a TMNT ripoff. Okay, when those are
Mhm.
all teenage kids with attitude in a team fighting Big Bad. Well, this is Howard the Duck smokes a cigar and punch does Quack Fu. He probably wouldn't have a
Mhm.
cigar in the movies. Honestly, in the second one, he wouldn't have that damn cigar anymore because it's a Ghostbusters thing. They realize kids like it, moves on. Anyways,
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
it's a Ghostbusters
It would
too.
be
Yeah.
so much more child friendly with the
Yes.
second one.
Yes. But that spawns on a bunch of cartoons.
Mhm.
Okay, well, there's another Howard the Duck movie. Okay, that spawns a bunch of. That's a big successful franchise that turns to a 40-year commitment. Fucking TMNT movies. We have 40 years of Howard the Duck movies. You know, if
Mhm.
we don't get the legal problems with Disney and
Yeah,
the creator, which we have precedent that probably wouldn't have hindered much. I did say that in the beginning, but
yeah.
we had the creator of Rocket Raccoon is having a GoFundMe page because Disney won't and Marvel won't help pay them enough of a living wage just to live. So yes, this makes sense. We have precedent for it. We've always had precedent for people being shitty. So Disney keeps
Well,
making a
yeah.
Howard movie.
I one thing, and this is something very similar to a small moment in the film, but I think was a very interesting thing, and that they actually brought this up in the film, and I wonder if it would have made it be much more of a widely known thing in the 80s, is if the film had been successful. Is they had there's a scene where they have Beverly, which is Leah Thompson's character, her her band manager plans to try and extort them for money through trying to force her to do sexual
Yeah.
acts, and that makes me and it makes me want, if this had been unsuccessful, would the Me Too movement have happened a lot sooner?
I, I don't know if I want to get into that. That seems like a
Well,
incredibly
if I'm
serious
just saying,
topic too.
I think that a lot of we could social issues they might sooner or come into like come to the limelight, and I bring and people start trying to deal with them.
So you asked the question basically how we engage with art. In fact, we can let's take that out of the what if situation. Let's talk about the art we engage with allows us to ask questions, allows us to if the art we talk about finally says that something isn't right, we get to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's why representation is important. That's why I think people are
Mm-hmm.
scared now with misinformation running rampant because that's representation for there
Mm-hmm.
allows that to feel okay, allows us the wrong type of questions to be asked and the wrong actions to be done. I think that's a very astute point. What we see
Yeah.
as being this is not okay
And
and it has to be a success.
yeah,
Yeah.
if the film is successful, that means much more people are hearing about it, and then much more people care about it much earlier.
Yes.
Is my thing. And I think that's such an interesting thing, and it could have that also in of itself would change Hollywood a lot, having a sign like that happen much earlier.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to think. I don't think there's really any other areas with us.
I think we've jumped 40 years in the future and showed a
Yeah.
world where ducks have ruled the earth. Corkscrewed penis is well more understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different world. Yeah.
There's probably scientific studies done of the about the corkscrew penises, be
I
like, oh, are they is that like cause more pleasure or something? Do we need to figure out a way to make humans ones unshaped like that?
actually you do bring up something. You said research. That actually is important. So because when animals are viewed as positive or negative in media,
Mm-hmm.
more research is done or how people interact with animals are done differently. Like when Jaws came out, you know, people were killing sharks for life right and left. Had to be people had to fight for years to talk about how sharks are not that dangerous.
Mhm.
Um, God, I think like yeah, Finding Nemo had positive and negative effects on certain fish, like the one that is Dory and the clownfishes, like things like that. Or fucking 101 Dalmatians.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of kids were asking for Dalmatians, and Dalmatians are notoriously very shitty dogs for families. You know, they are incredibly smart, which means they're hard to train, which means they can be kind of mean. So, cool. Duck. Duck
Mhm.
become popular. Maybe duck hunting doesn't go down, but duck research goes up.
Mhm. Yeah.
Those beautiful duck contests, like painting of stamps contests. All those good to talk about more because that's a cute fluff piece. You know, I people like Howard the Duck. There's this thing happening in our town. Let's talk about that. You
Mhm.
know, that gets more attention. More people do that.
Yeah.
Little things like that do have big ramifications. Like, yeah, just an animal that you like being more popular has more protection. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. Though I kind of wonder whether the like you mentioned how with the with 101 Dalmatians how a lot of kids wanted to have Dalmatians.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if children would have wanted to have ducks as pets,
Yes.
but when they got them and realized they don't look anything like Howard, they would get really annoyed.
Yes. Absolutely. I I'm gonna ask. Hey, you're a Friends super fan, right? Got it. I was gonna ask my fiance, who's a big fan of Friends, who is working on our wedding. So that's important. They have headphones on. They're working on their wedding.
Understood.
But I remember. I think I'm just gonna talk my out of my ass here, which is really most of the podcast with me. Joey had a fucking duck,
Mhm.
goose and duck, and I wonder if there was a little bit rise of adoption. I mean, there's always a rise in adoption when it
Mhm.
comes to especially chickens and ducks, because the ducklings are so fucking cute.
Mhm.
And then they get abandoned. So yeah, absolutely. Which probably means that people will be hunting ducks more because now there's just feral ducks running around the streets of Manhattan that you have to shoot. You got to
Yeah.
shoot these ducks. They're eating the pigeon food. They're they're everywhere. You have to kill these ducks. Duck meat
The
goes
ducks.
down. The
Oh,
chicken sandwich craze is now a duck sandwich phase. It changes everything.
oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's all I have to say for this. Is any anything that you'd like to shout out for the end this
I,
off? Do you have
I
any
want
shows that was happening or anything?
um I have one tomorrow at the Lincoln Lodge. If you're out there,
Well,
and
okay, that
yeah,
probably won't be the
um,
episode will be coming out on Tuesday. So
I just moved, so I am doing something at the end of February. Honestly,
okay.
here's the thing: if you want to find more about me, what I'm
Mhm,
doing, my ramblings, I am Plum Jeremy on everything that's not Twitter
mhm.
and or TikTok. I guess because I in that first hour when TikTok fell, I was like, well, I gotta install my app, I guess, and then it came back on and go, well, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Plum
Uh,
Jeremy on everything you
uh,
can actually reach, including Red Note. So that's fun.
okay. I've not got onto the red note craze, and
It's
I
different.
can't get. I don't think I would be able to like get to decide where I have to learn another language for it.
So far, I have not. I'm still stupid, and I will die a stupid man. I wanted to thank you for having me on. This is a phenomenal idea. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing this with me. Like so a big thing for or why I wanted to do this is I always loved when I was a kid. It just like making up stories with
Yeah.
with my brothers and age where we would just be like, this happens and this happens, blah blah blah, blah. And I'm like that would be cool to do an episode of my podcast like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
I thought you're a comedian, so you're actually probably someone who would be willing to do something like that.
I have done a few years of improv. I can definitely roll with the punches, but that was a ton of fun. This was a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
Yeah, just Smash Trivia on all or Smash Trivia John on basically all the major social medias as this and um you probably know this if you're listening to this, but my podcast is Special Represents the Gamma Analysis, and it's on all the major podcast platforms. Arms, so yeah, and I do like more of short form arm video content that's on it's on both YouTube and TikTok. That is different from my podcast content, and it's mainly me doing like either short reviews of films that I'm not gonna have a chance to do a whole podcast on,
Yeah.
or not enough stuff to talk about on the podcast, or just like random geeky subjects that I want to talk about. Like I did one that this past week that was it was a theory for the or how I think the upcoming Daredevil show
Yeah.
and the Thunderbolts movie are going to connect.
Hell yeah.
Act and yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, thank you so much for coming on,
Of
everyone.
course.
Please check out Jeremy Plum. He's absolutely awesome. So again, thank you
Thank you.
everyone for listening. Hey, if you like this gamma analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts and episodes. Please let me know. If you'd like to listen more from me, please subscribe. Many more gamma analysis coming. So keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Master John, signing off.